Hello everyone, welcome to video 2, Communication Skills in Counseling. By the end of this video, you should be able to 1. Describe how non-verbal behaviors can influence counseling and clients, and 2. Explain the basic communication skills that occur during counseling. Before we start, let's do a bit of imagination. All of us have close friends, right? Among all your close friends, can you identify one person whom you like to talk to whenever you have problems? I assume that good friend of yours genuinely listens to you and understands your personal problems. Now imagine that you are talking to that friend. What kind of body language would your friend show while you're talking to make you feel comfortable? Can you list the specific communication skills that your friend has and that makes you want to talk more to him or her? A counselor is someone who is like that friend of yours. He or she needs to have some specific skills that make clients feel comfortable and safe to talk to during the counseling session. These skills can be in the form of non-verbal behavior or communication skills. The application of these skills will ensure the smooth running of a counseling process and bring positive change to client. As a counselor, you need to present yourself to your clients by words and body language. What you say and how you say it to your clients is important in counseling. Apart from that, your non-verbal language is equally important in conveying messages to your client. Next, I will explain to you how your non-verbal signals such as eye contact, your facial expression, your body gesture, your posture, and appearance play a critical role in determining how your client responds to you. Those non-verbal behaviors from the counselor can have an impact towards the client and influence the client's perception towards the counselor. Imagine that you are talking to your friend and your friend is busy reading newspaper. How would you feel? You sense that your friend is not listening to you, right? The following are the non-verbal behaviors that a counselor must take into. Now I will talk about a few non-verbal behaviors that a counselor must take into consideration when communicating to a client to show that the counselor is paying full attention while listening to the client. The first non-verbal behavior is eye contact. Maintaining appropriate eye contact during the counseling session is very important because it demonstrates respect and interest. When the client is talking, look gently towards the client's face to show that you are listening. At the same time, the counselor can observe the client's reaction when he or she makes a statement. Do not stare at the person. Looking straight into the eyes of someone could cause anxiousness. The second non-verbal behavior is facial expression. Showing a relaxed and smiling face is desirable to help your client feel calm. Avoid rolling your eyes to express disagreement or other funny facial expression that may lead to the conversation to an undesirable end. Make sure your facial expressions match the emotions that you are intending to communicate. If your client is telling a sad story, show a sad face, not a smiling face, of course. And the third nonverbal behavior is bodily gesture. While listening or speaking to your client, you can make different types of gesture. You can move your hands around. Appropriate gestures such as nodding your head is encouraged to show that you are listening and understanding the conversation. But avoid flipping papers or pen in your hand while talking to a client, and also avoid moving your hands unnecessarily. Make sure that there is no barrier between client and the counselor, such as there is no table between you and the counselor, or counselor and the client. The fourth nonverbal behavior is posture. Have a natural and comfortable posture so that you appear relaxed in front of your client. Clients normally come in a worried or anxious condition. Therefore, it is important for the counselor to demonstrate the calmness so that the client will feel at ease. Have an open posture, not crossing your arms like this or your legs, and try to lean towards the client a little bit to show that you are interested to listen attentively to your client. And always avoid slouching, put your back towards the back of the client. And the fifth nonverbal behavior is appearance. The counselor's style of dressing and cleanliness is important. Good personal grooming will make you look more pleasant to others and more professional to your client. Apart from being able to communicate positively to the client through non-verbal behaviors, the counselor also needs to be attentive to the client's non-verbal behavior and interpret them appropriately. Pay more attention to the eyes, sitting position, facial expressions, and voice tone of the client while he or she is talking. These non-verbal behaviors of clients often give more information about the client's feelings and thoughts, apart from what the client told the counselor verbally. Those are the additional cues that the counselor can pick up, especially when a client sends a message through his speech, but it carries different meaning through the client's voice tone or facial expression. For instance, a client may say that, "I'm not angry with my friend," with his voice raised. In this case, it is obvious that what is said is not consistent with what the client feels. Therefore, it is important that the counselor is sensitive and quick to realize if what the client is saying is not consistent with what the client really feels. The counselor's ability to feel what the client feels, even when it is not expressed verbally, shows the counselor's empathy towards the client. The ability to do so will encourage the client to be more open in sharing his or her problem. Besides using non-verbal language skills, a skillful counselor will also use basic communication skills during the process of counseling. These basic communication skills are 1. Questioning, 2. Using silence, 3. Listening, 4. Restating, 5. Reflecting of feelings, and 6. Summarizing. We'll look at them one by one. Questioning skills is used to get more information about the client. It is good for a counselor to use open-ended questions to encourage the client to share information, opinions, or feelings. Example of open-ended question which can be used at the beginning of a session is, "What has happened since we last met?" Or during the explorations, "What is going on within you? Can you elaborate more on that?" Open questions like these invite the client to share more than just saying yes or no. Although the use of open-ended questions is highly valuable, the counselor is not encouraged to use too many questions to make the counseling process sound like an interrogation process. No one likes to be bombarded by a series of questions. The second communication skill is the use of silence. A brief period of silence allows the client to think and reflect what he has just said, to filter his thoughts first before talking. And silence can mean the client needs more time to think. Or silence can also mean that the client feels uneasy and reluctant to cooperate. Or silence can mean the client has nothing more to say about an issue. An inexperienced counselor may feel strange when there is time gap which is not filled with discussion. It is important for the counselor to know when and how to utilize the silence beneficially, and also to be comfortable with a brief moment of silence. And the counselor will have to know when to be quiet and when to ask for further explanation. The third communication skill is listening skill. It is the ability of the counselor to receive messages cautiously and give accurate responses to the message heard. The process of listening needs the integrations of observing and interpreting non-verbal behaviors that we have discussed earlier, and also the integration of restating and reflecting feelings that will be discussed in the next 2 points. Listening has a therapeutic value where it is perceived by the client that he or she is understood and heard by someone. Therefore, if a counselor is listening attentively to a client, and the client will feel nurtured and being understood, and thus want to explore more and talk more. The fourth communication skill is restating. This is related to the skill of listening attentively to the client. It is the ability of the counselor to restate the gist of the message being conveyed by the client. The counselor can paraphrase or use his own words to give feedback on what has been said by the client. This is to tell the client that the counselor is trying to understand him and to ensure what is understood by the counselor is actually what the client is trying to convey. The fifth communication skill is reflecting of feelings. The focus of this skill is on the client's feelings. For example, the client says, "I felt terrible this morning when I woke up early in the morning and couldn't sleep after that. I heard so much of noise and it was my neighbor who is a married couple arguing and shouting at each other." So the response of the counselor can be, you feel very agitated and angry with all the arguing and shouting noise from your neighbor that disturb your sleep. In this instance, the counselor reflects the condition of the client's present feelings. And by doing so, the counselor communicates his understanding and empathy towards the client. In return, the client will feel that he is listened to and understood by the counselor, and thus will be more open to talk about the problem. If this reflecting of feeling skills is used appropriately, the client can feel very touched at heart, feel really understood by the counselor, and this skill is very powerful in communicating empathy towards the client. The last communication skill that we'll discuss here is summarizing skill. It is the ability of the counselor to summarize important matters which were discussed during the counseling session. This skill can be used at the beginning of a session to summarize matters that were discussed during the previous sessions. It can be used whenever the client feels that he has expressed everything which is important to him on a specific topic. Or it can be used at the end of a session to summarize what has been learned from the sessions, like what I did for the video. So in this video, you have learned that non-verbal language of the counselor, such as eye contact, facial expressions, bodily gesture, postures and appearances can influence your client in a counseling session. It is also important for the counselor to be able to interpret non-verbal behaviors observed in the sessions and use the various communication skills effectively to ensure the smooth running of a counseling session. I hope you find this video lecture helpful. I will suggest one question for you to discuss in my Inspire forum. How does a counselor show that he or she is paying attention to a client during counseling? See you again in the next video.